guys, this is Joel Kennedy with Kennedy Violins, and today I wanted to do a video about how to replace a fine tuner. Now this is a pretty simple operation. Here at Kennedy Violins we perform this operation thousands of times a year because when you order a violin from us we customize the violin to your liking. So whether you want built-in fine tuners or independent fine tuners. But if you're not used to replacing fine tuners, it can be a little daunting, a little bit scary because you're afraid you're going to break your violin and whatnot. So I'll just show you guys really quick how to do it and you'll see how easy it is. And so what I have here, now there's a lot of reasons why a person might want to replace a fine tuner. One is because it may be malfunctioning, or they want to just, let's say they have 4 fine tuners and they want to just have 1 fine tuner on the E, so they might want to take off these. But I think the easiest thing, if you're not familiar with taking a violin apart, probably the best thing for you, the best rule of thumb, is just do 1 string at a time. Now if it was me, I would disassemble the whole violin and then reassemble it with the amount of fine tuners that I wanted, if I wanted to remove 3 of them or whatever. But that requires a little bit more experience and you can kind of run into some issues if you do that. I am going to do a video on that, but for purpose of this video, I'm just going to show you the quick and easy way to do it, just 1 string at a time, so it's as easy as possible. So here I have a violin. Let's pretend this fine tuner is stripped out. It doesn't work. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to loosen the E string so the ball is nice and loose, and I'm just going to pull it out, let it go. And then there's 2 parts that you have to be concerned about. One is you have this screw portion here, and then you have a nut. Those are both threaded items that you'll be dealing with. So this screw portion, I'm just going to turn it counterclockwise, which is left. Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, I think that's what they say. So I'm just going to, and that comes right out, pretty easy. And then I'm going to loosen this nut right here, again, counterclockwise. Turn it left to loosen it. And I usually use this kind of plier. You don't need this kind of plier, obviously. You can use any kind of plier. These are easy to use because they've got a little bit of angle to them. Now your fine tuner might be loose, so you don't need a pair of pliers. But I do use a pair of pliers to tighten them, at the very least, to make sure they're nice and tight. So I'm just going to get this, and I'm going to loosen it. There we go. Now I can get the rest with my fingers. So now I'm just going to loosen that little guy. Turn it counterclockwise, and there it is. And now we've got to pull this out. So you just want to gently lift your tailpiece to kind of give you some clearance so you don't scratch the top of your violin, and I'm going to lower it out of the hole and pull it out. So here it is again. Here's putting it in, and here's taking it out. It's about that simple. So that's removing the fine tuner. Now I'll just show you how to put it back in. So we've removed the offending fine tuner, and now we're going to put the good one in. So again, we lift the tailpiece just a tiny little bit, and we insert it in the hole. Now we're going to get our nut, that little nut, and we're going to turn it clockwise. We're going to turn it to the right and tighten it. Now this is going to make this fine tuner tight with your tailpiece so it doesn't buzz and move around. So I'm going to get it finger tight, and then I'm going to use my pliers. Now the pliers are a little dangerous. If you really reef on it, you're going to break your tailpiece. So you do have to be careful if you do decide to use pliers. So the general rule is about a 1/4 turn after finger tight, about a 1/4 turn, and that's all you have to do. Maybe a 1/3 turn at the most, depending on how tight you got it when you did it with finger tight. But if you do it any more, you risk cracking your tailpiece, and then you get to buy a new tailpiece. So no more than a 1/4 turn. And you want it nice and snug, because if it's not, it'll get loose in the near future, and it'll buzz and rattle while you're playing. You don't want that. So that's why we always make sure it's plenty tight, so your violin will sound the best that it possibly can. Good. So we have our little arm in. So now we're going to stick the string back on. We get the ball, stick the ball in there, and now we're going to tighten the string. And if you've watched any of my videos on how to replace strings, you'll know that the best way to put a string on the peg so the peg doesn't slip is by directing the string over towards the peg that you're turning, and so it winds against the side of the scroll box here. So I'm going to push the peg in gently while I turn it and direct that string over so it's tight against the scroll box. And this is going to prevent that peg from slipping, from from rewinding after I get it tight. So I make sure the string is in the nut. I make sure it's in the notch of the bridge. And now it's kind of medium tight. So I'm going to take that little piece of plastic there. Not all violins have this on the E string, but many do. So I'm just going to lift the E string a little bit and get it on that bridge. And then I'm going to tighten it. Basically to pitch. And now I'm going to stick that screw back in. So I'm going to put that in the violin and you tighten it. Now if you just stick it in there, it's not going to fall out. But the problem is hear that noise? It's loose, so it buzzes around. It's pretty annoying while you're playing to hear that buzz. So you want to tighten the fine tuner down at least so it's a little bit tight. You'll feel the resistance once you get there. So now it doesn't buzz. So now you're free to use your fine tuner. And you're good. So I hope that helps out some of you guys who want to replace your fine tuners. And now if you have any questions in the future, like I say, here at Kennedy Violins, we're all string instrumentalists, and most of us are all teachers as well. So if you have any questions in the future, call us, email us, whatever, just contact us. We're always happy to answer any kind of questions you have. Thank you.